Sweet child of mine. It was that last second, that last breathtaking moment where I knew I was not going to win. I looked to my right as my daughter held my hand, squeezing the bejesus out of it, with her eyes closed tightly, as if her top row of eyelashes were trying to suffocate the bottom ones. I looked around to check if I could see the other nominees, though most of them were seated much closer to the front than we were. That is the way it works at the Academy Awards, and I was just a first-time director with a small but well-received movie called In God Loved. The two presenters were both famous comedic actors. Sherry Tainsworth, a natural redhead who adhered to the usual stereotypes and cultural norms of the ginger people, was doing most of the presenting. I'd always liked her because her jokes had a goal or followed up on a cause. On the other hand, her fellow presenter was Escargot, an obese comedian whose claim to fame was starring in a movie about a hustler from the hard streets of Raleigh, North Carolina, who may or may not have used 20 kilos of cocaine to help save an orphanage. Or donut house. I don't know. I stopped caring because all I could think about when I watched the trailer was how he had to be close to losing a leg, or at least a foot, to diabetes. "Oh my God, no!" I yelled inside my head as the rotund comedian pulled the card from the envelope. At least 6 to 8 drops of his sweat descended from his forehead onto the priceless keepsake for whoever won the award.
Someone must have missed his trip to the Western Union to pay the utility bill because it's hot in this honey sack, you know what I'm saying?
He mused. The crowd gave an obligatory laugh, but it was 95% super wealthy white people. And let's be honest, most of them probably think Western Union is a country music band from California.
You need some backup there, Mr. Go? Mr. Scargo? I don't really know which one to call you because they are both terrible.
Tainsworth chuckled. Once again, the comedian stalled even longer, grandstanding and making his moment in front of millions of people go on for longer than it should, glaring at her and making her laugh.
And the winner is,
he said before inhaling another large breath,
Stephen Tulley for In God Loved.
It was one of those moments where that weird feeling of a warm liquid is being poured onto your brain, and then it quickly flows down to the rest of your body while your hairs stand up as if they are saluting when it passes each one. I turned to my daughter, who was 16 years old, and caught her right in the moment when she finally opened her eyes and the words, "Holy shit," fell from her lips. She turned to me and threw her arms around my neck. This was a big deal for her too because of what we went through to get here. My daughter was, and always will be, the number one female in my life. Since her mother and I split up 3 years ago, she has become my rock. "Dad, get up! Go! You got to go! Go on stage!" she whispered, yelled in my ear. "Come with me!" I whispered, yelled back. Then her eyebrows furrowed while her nose and lips scrunched up as she mouthed a very apparent no. The moment was brief, but packed full of emotions and information to process, as is every other second of my life. I am very hyperactive, especially in the brain, but we can cover that later. Right now, I need to stand up and walk on stage in front of tens of millions of people to collect this award. And I don't know what the hell to say because I never thought I would win. As I stood up, it didn't even cross my mind that I had been sitting cramped for so long that my legs were asleep. I'm 6'2", so my legs are just long enough to barely fit in anywhere. I can tell you that if I didn't do what I was about to do next, the only thing anyone would remember about me from this moment was how I immediately dropped to the floor. It was like trying to get a Raggedy Andy doll to stand by himself. Quickly, others rushed to my side, but mostly A- and B+ actors because we were so far back. Seriously, you aren't going to see Clooney or Oprah rushing from the front row to see if I was okay. Luckily, I handled it with dignity by pointing to my legs and then making the two-handed sleep gesture to the side of my face. Out of my peripheral vision, I could see that there were some chuckles, while others were more dramatic by covering their eyes, as if to avert attention from something that was purely an unfortunate moment for another human being. And for some reason, that got to me. I made it on stage without any additional miscues or legs crumbling beneath me. Tainsworth hugged me and whispered in my ear,
"You okay?"
And the only thing I could think to say was, "Like mashed potatoes, right?" Her laugh was forced, and as uncomfortable as I was, wondering why I had just compared the moment to comfort food, Escargot, breathing hard and looking like he required some oxygen, handed the trophy to me. What the hell am I going to say? Here goes. Wow, this is completely unexpected, I mustered. "Hello, is Nick Cliché calling?" I thought, chastising myself. This project was something that started many years ago while I was studying at North Carolina Wesleyan, as I pondered what happened after my uncle took his own life. I reflected the thoughts of what my mother and grandmother were experiencing as they grappled between their love for a brother and a son and the faith they have for their religion. It was then that, and for some reason, I stopped in the middle of the sentence. This entire scenario seemed pointless, and I couldn't get the thought of some of these people snickering or averting their eyes because they felt embarrassed for me, rather than just reach out to me and show me love and kindness. My first instinct would have been to rush over to me and offer what help I could, and if I happened to be sitting in the front row, then I would step out to make sure I was okay. Remember when I did the legs turned into mashed potato thing? Who cares what anyone thinks? I turned to the hot camera. That's the one with the red light on. Pointed my finger at it and made a gesture as if I were pushing a button. Pause, I said. It felt as if I were pausing the world, and the crowd was now curious and enthralled, wondering if I had lost my mind. I don't know, maybe I had. Shelby, I said as I looked past the sea of celebrities who were now obviously confused. Slowly, they all turned their heads to see who I was speaking to, only to find my daughter now firmly with the cameras planted on her, as she looked horrified that I would suddenly and unexpectedly throw the spotlight onto her. Well, I was not intending to cause my daughter any undue pressure. What I realized at that moment was that none of this mattered. The glamour, the celebrities, this award was now going to allow me to make a very hefty paycheck from the next project. Okay, so maybe that part isn't so bad. But I didn't care about connecting with anyone in the world but her. She glared at me with an awkward teen smile, and I continued as I saw the stage manager give me the signal to wrap it up. It's just you and me, and has been since your mother and I split up. You have been there for me, and I hope you feel that I have been there for you. I am so sorry your mother and I couldn't work it out, but we tried. I promise you, we tried. I know it has been almost 3 years, but I've never felt more regret in my life than robbing you of your childhood and the chance to have both parents present. This award, I said, holding it up and staring at it briefly, it's meaningless without you. This life feels meaningless without you, and that is way too much pressure to put on a kid. I am so proud of you and how you have handled so much pressure with so much dignity. I don't know how the future will play out. I don't know if I will ever find love again. I hope so. I really do. But I need you to know that no matter what, you will always be the most important woman in my life. Thank you for being you and the best daughter a dad could ever hope for. Then in some weird sense of following a fake protocol, I turned to the camera, making a gesture as if to push the button again, and said unpause, and continued my earlier train of thought. I decided to write a story that might challenge a more common way of thinking and present an idea of how our faith and the truth of reality can coexist. Thank you so much for this award. I will cherish it always. With that, I followed Tainsworth and Escargot off the stage. I wanted to look back at the crowd so badly, but I kept focused on the floor in front of me and headed stage right. There was applause initially, but then something weird happened. The applause grew louder and louder until it was thunderous, right as I was passing the curtain to the backstage area. I finally lifted my head and there was a production assistant, dressed in black, trying to get my attention. What? I asked. I wasn't sure if she was mute or had been ordered not to utter a word during the telecast, but her finger spoke volumes as she looked like she was aggressively pushing a doorbell. I turned around and looked back out over the crowd. They were giving a standing ovation, but it wasn't to me. They had all turned to my daughter and were applauding her. The moment overwhelmed me, and like the big softy I am, tears were flowing down my cheeks. My feet involuntarily had me walking back on stage, even as the production assistant tried to grab me. The music was already playing to indicate the moment was over, and still, the crowd continued to applaud. There I was on the corner of the stage, tears streaming down my cheeks as I joined in with them. Finally, Shelby stood up, raised her hand to the crowd, and she just lost it. She began to sob, and that is all it took for me to break every Academy Award protocol as I leapt from the stage and ran to her. I need to make a bigger movie next time so we can sit closer to the front, I thought out loud as arthritis in my right knee gave me its version of the middle finger after landing from my stage jump. When I finally reached Shelby, I hugged her and held her so tight I thought I was saying goodbye forever. She whispered into my ear, "Oh my God, I love you, but this is super embarrassing." That made me laugh, and I turned to everyone, raised my hand in thanks, and then sat down with her, which prompted the rest of the audience to do the same. The moment was over, but it was just the beginning of this story. Wake me up before you go. Waking up in the morning after an Academy Award win is like waking up from being really drunk and trying to remember what happened the night before and why you feel embarrassed. Then there is the immediate and sudden realization that you must check your phone because you know somehow, some way, you acted like a dumbass and texted someone you shouldn't have. It's more than likely an ex-lover you had amazing sex with, but the rest of the situation wasn't going to work. Come on, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You don't necessarily break up, but you sort of show you have lost interest without really cutting ties. That way, when you get drunk and horny, you can call out of the blue and offer a short-term but valid excuse. It's better than being direct and saying sex with you is amazing, but it is the other 23 hours a day that worries me. However, this is not one of those mornings. This morning, I had, in fact, awakened an Academy Award winner for Best Director at that. I was completely awake at this point, but you can't just allow someone to bang on your door without causing some amount of guilt. Huh? What? Who's going? What is that? I mean, who is it? I mustered with garbled tongue and breath. Yeah, I could have won Best Actor too. Dad, get up. We have to go. When I mentioned my goal was to make whoever was banging on my door feel guilty, it's easy to see that it was now a futile act on my part. Also, I was acting like a spoiled brat, but this day is bigger than even a birthday. So, ha ha ha, let them eat cake. No, seriously, I'm not that much of an ass. I really would like to be some days. A lot of days, actually, but I am a parent, so like many other selfish things I wish I could do, I can't. I swung my feet off the bed and made a beeline to the dresser where my phone was. Holy shit was all I could muster when I saw the first notification. I had 1,399 new messages. Then, in normal Stephen Tulley fashion, I let it bother me that I needed one more to get to 1,400. So where was it? You have one new message and 1,399 unread messages. My phone said right on cue. Cheers, I answered back. Based on the heaviness of my daughter's hand as it banged the shit out of my door this morning, I figured I didn't have time to read any of them. I just won the Academy Award for Best Director, so more than likely Shelby had a zillion interviews lined up. Oh yeah, that is sort of a crucial element to this story. My daughter is my manager and agent. Yes, you are hearing that correctly, and yes, I did write earlier that she is only 16 years old. Why do you think they gave her a standing ovation? It's a romantic notion to think that the crowd just wanted to offer additional love after a father's very public testament to his daughter, but this is Hollywood. Every one of those A-listers knows good and damn well that Shelby is going to be a heavy hitter in the next few years. This is the entertainment business, and they all know their careers might depend on how she is feeling as a 17-year-old on a Monday afternoon while drinking a latte, reading a script, and having agents buzz in her ear about how their clients are the perfect fit for the part. God help the asshole who is pushy. I want to tell you how the legend of Shelby Tulley began, and the incredible part of it is it's true.